Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlan, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters, also known as VRTrader.com. He was the #1 U.S. stock market timer in the January 2020 edition of Timer Digest. He's speaking to us from Arizona. Welcome back to the show, Mark.
Glad to be back. Thanks.
Mark, do you still have your special offer for our listeners?
We do, and we're offering it to the end of the year. It's 2020 half off, 2020 HALF, and what that is a promo code. So when you go to VRTrader.com and you pull up any of our newsletters and you pick the newsletter you like, in the application form, subscription form, there's a little space for your promo code, and you enter 2020 half off, and you get 50% off for whichever subscription or time frame you select. So that's the way to do it. 2020 half off at VRTrader.com.
Are the equity markets giving any hint on the election result?
Really, it's tough to say. I don't know if I can answer that question. Part of me says yes, part of me says no. For example, last few days, actually part of today, Thursday, we saw infrastructure stocks taking off. Now, the last time this happened was back in 2016, prior to Trump's election, and they were, in my opinion, at that time anticipating his victory because he was a big proponent of infrastructure, building the wall, and so forth, and it was a correct assumption. Now, since then, Democrats apparently have jumped on board the infrastructure story, though they claim they were talking about it before 2016, but they weren't talking about a wall. So, for example, Martin Marietta, which is a big name in that group, at one point today it was up over $20 a share, didn't close that high, and U.S. Concrete and other names like that were showing some strength. So I was thinking, well, does that mean that they're thinking that it makes no difference who's in because both parties are talking about infrastructure, or is this another Trump indication because he's very strong infrastructure and the wall and so forth? So when I said I have mixed feelings, I know which stocks are moving, and they'll probably do well no matter who gets in, I guess, which is really the bottom line. I mean, if you're a stock market trader, investor, and you're not into the politics, of course we are a little bit, I have to admit, I'm prejudiced, but if you're just looking to pick sectors or stocks that are doing well or could do well in any scenario, certainly those names stand out because there seems to be a big push for that. So my answer to you is I don't know if the market is giving you in the indication. Now, what is giving you an indication of problems is the technical picture of the market. Using my volume reversal, technical tool and looking at general technical patterns and also our annual forecast and other cyclical stuff we play with and views for many years. And that's telling me, we had a double top in the market. We had negative volume coming off the top. Our cycles are pretty much down until the end of the year. And there's some warnings that even looking out well beyond the election into next year, the year after, there could be technical problems as well, not to mention fundamental problems with regard to debt and everything else you can imagine out there, potential civil unrest, uncertainties that obviously are going to continue to expand. The virus situation is just catastrophic in terms of what governments are doing to try to impose their will upon people. And spreading in Europe now, supposedly, if you believe all the numbers. And part of me questions whether part of the whole COVID event is a fraud or misinformation, if it's really all as true as we're being told. I mean, you and I don't control the numbers. We don't know what the government's creating or who's creating these numbers, what's accurate, what's not accurate, whether it's all COVID or not. I mean, it goes on and on and on in terms of believability, too. Not to say some people aren't getting sick, but there could be, some extreme exaggeration too on the part of governments trying to control things, and maybe there's some other factor out there that we don't know about. I've sort of speculated about this now since the whole thing started earlier this year, that there could be some other event or some other forces out there at work, and it's not only the COVID is not the only story, that it might be a cover-up for something else that's going on. If you don't believe that, then certainly the forces and powers that be out there are taking advantage of the COVID to impose their will and create all type of restrictions upon people, which, frankly, I'm surprised that we're willing to give up so easily. But there's a pushback now. There are riots and people, trying to fight the controls. But getting back to your question, I got off on a little bit of a tangent there. The indicators are negative, so you got to be careful here. If Trump gets in, maybe there'll be a bounce, a nice rally. Market, I think, would appreciate that, but it doesn't mean it still couldn't come down afterwards. If Biden gets in, market probably will have an initial nosedive. But as I mentioned earlier, there are going to be individual stocks and sectors that should, try to act a bit better. And we're sort of just watching the technical tools. Sort of funny right now, even gold is underperforming. So many people thought that would be a hedge here, myself included. And most of the most recent signals are a bit negative, so we're waiting for those to turn around. You have a seasonal favorability into the first quarter of next year, and I would have thought that we'd have seen some greater strength with this uncertainty out there. But we've noted this before, and I'm sure you've seen it and heard it as well. I mean, stocks and gold can and do move together. They throw the baby out with the bathwater. Margin calls, liquidation, need of capital, and so forth affect the gold market as well. So gold seems to be tracking to a certain degree here with stocks in terms of relative weakness. So, you try to look for a place to make money, and you got to focus in on some of these names, like I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, things that are focusing investor interest, no matter who politically succeeds here. And another group that was a standout today and has been on and off for the last several weeks. So the U.S. cannabis stocks standing out, trading virtually near their highs from where they were many months ago. Not the Canadian names, I'm talking about the U.S. names. So, there are certain things going on out there, and you sort of got to focus in on it. But if you're a pure market player and you're looking at the Dow and S&P and NASDAQ, warning flags are up here, so I need something to trigger that tells me we're going to get back along the market. So that's the bottom line.
We'll have more with Mark Leibovit right after this.
Value from success. Growth in discovery. Golden Arrow Resources is a well-funded gold-copper exploration company with proven management and prospective properties in Chile, Argentina, and Paraguay. Golden Arrow trades on the Toronto Venture Exchange, symbol GRG, on Frankfurt, symbol G6A, and the OTCQB, symbol GARWF. For more information, visit us at goldenarrowresources.com or call Sean at 778-686-0135.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mark Leibovit. Mark, what do you see happening with the U.S. dollar?
Well, it started uptick here again. It can't seem to gain enough momentum. It started up a couple of weeks ago, faltered, then started up again here last day or so, and it sure looked like a bottoming formation to me, and it just hasn't, regained the momentum that we thought it would. If that does happen, that's going to put a knockout punch into the gold market, because I think so many are focusing on that inverse relationship there. So, my bottom line feeling, it sure looks like it's bottoming technically, but if you look at fundamentals out there in terms of, the debt that is being created, of course, the rescue package wasn't passed by Congress down here. So, I guess that takes a little bit of pressure off the dollar. I guess you could argue that there's less money being spent, but the dollar is sort of was the most surviving horse in the glue factory, the last horse to go. I mean, the relative strength you would think would still be in the dollar versus other currencies, and it's way oversold. So, I looking at the charts, it sure looks like it's trying to bottom here, but I need a little bit more confirmation of that. I'm not long it at the moment, but very tempted to do that. But the fundamental picture says stay away from the dollar because there could be problems here as well. So, bottom line for me is it's sort of neutral to slightly positive looking at the dollar, but I don't have any positions on, and let's see if we get a little bit of a breakout here, and if it does, then adios gold, and that's probably, that's not going to be a good sign for that market.
We'll have more with Mark Leibovit right after the break.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mark Leibovit. Mark, do you expect interest rates to go up anytime soon?
Yes, in fact, that's one of the calls I'm sort of making now, and I'm thinking one of the surprises would be higher interest rates. I don't know. I don't have an exact time frame for it, but the charts are certainly telling me that we're at an extreme here in terms of rates being as low as they are. And if I had a bet, looking out over the next year or so, or maybe less, that would be the surprise that comes in because of the nature of the debt and because who's going to lend money at negative interest rates. So. That's sort of my feeling. I think, taking an inverse position to the bond market, thinking that we're going to see higher rates, and is not a bad place to, position oneself. But, if you want to pull the trigger here or wait a little bit longer, I think that would be that would be a decent call the way I'm reading the charts.
Negative interest rates, they haven't seemed to work out all that well for Japan or Europe. Why would somebody want to bring them in?
There is no rational reason for it. But central banks, particularly in Europe, have done it. As you said, Japan has done it. But they try to utilize other tools to try to stimulate the markets and the economy. They seem to think that's the way to go. I have no rational explanation for it. It makes no sense. We've already seen that it has very little effect. And governments like Japan had to go in there and physically get into the stock market, buying stocks themselves. To support the equity markets. I think Europe's doing the same thing. I'm not 100% sure. I know the U.S. has been doing some of that as well, trying to support the markets. I think the focus is keeping the equity market strong to maintain confidence in the system. But the rates themselves are only one of many tools that the central banks have, and sure hasn't worked. And that makes no, answer your question, it really makes no sense to employ them at all. And I don't know why they would do it here when the record for them is pretty disastrous, I think. So, there's still speculation it could happen here, but, that's not good news, I don't think.
Any other areas of special interest you have besides the cannabis sector?
Yeah, as I mentioned, the infrastructure stocks looking interesting. Some of the base metals are looking good. Copper in particular, steel, aluminum. That's all related to the infrastructure comment that I made. But that's just thinking off the top of my head. Those are sort of the standouts in terms of the sectors that we're focusing in on. If I get a confirmation of a bottom in gold and silver here. Versus the little negative patterns we've gotten here. Like I said at the top of the broadcast, seasonally we should be entering a period of some strength here at some point. It seems, as I mentioned, the metals seem to track with stocks, though. So if stocks are not going to do well, I'm wondering if gold is going to track inversely or take its own path. So I guess gold and silver are on a watch buy here because they've corrected from recent highs, and as I mentioned, we're in a cyclical period where you should see some strength. So is a trigger going to be the dollar collapsing again? Is it going to be some extraneous event that we haven't noted? Is it going to work inversely to the stock market, or is the stock market going to take off here and gold and silver go with it? So to answer your question, gold and silver would be in another area outside of the base metals, outside of infrastructure, outside of cannabis, in areas that we're focusing in on. Not a heck of a lot out there, you know what I'm saying, unless you're just super bullish on the market and you think we're going to new all-time highs and everything is going to be great and Trump's going to get in and that's going to drive stocks to new highs. That means you can buy just about anything out there. But then you've got the cannabis situation out there at the moment seems to be depressing everybody. The COVID situation depressing everybody, not cannabis. And you don't know where this is all going to go. And of course we have to wait till next Tuesday to see what happens in the election, assuming it's even going to be resolved quickly. It could take, a month or two until the results are finalized. We had that experience years ago with George Bush and Al Gore, where it took several weeks before the Supreme Court actually decided that it was a Bush victory. If that same pattern unfolds, then you could see the markets choppy into early next year. And our forecast model did say, and we had predicted this at the beginning of the year, that we should be weakened to the end of the year. So it wouldn't surprise me that uncertainty in the election would translate into lower stock prices into the end of the year. So that seems to be the safer bet, in my opinion.
Mark, remind people again about the special offer.
You go to vrtrader.com and you go to the order page, whichever newsletter you want to sign up for, and there's a 50% discount using the promo code 2020 half off 2020 HALF, and that gives you 50% off for any of the newsletters for any time you sign up for it. And I would remind people that we're intermediate term with some of the longer term forecasts, but for traders out there, we do what we think a bang up job. I mean, today, for example, we traded in the morning and made some nice gains in a lot of the sectors that I just referred in this interview, and sometimes we're in and out pretty quickly, and for those who are looking a little bit more action in the markets, we try to provide that. So good service for that reason.
Mark, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
My guest has been Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit newsletters, also known as vrtrader.com. If you have any questions for Mark or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter @HowStreet. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.